In 2021, the Trent Rockets look set to ignite, but failed to launch after a disappointing exit in the Eliminator. Will they do better in 2022? It's time for our squad preview. Welcome to the 100 Club. My name is Tom, and I'm joined once again by Rich for the final of our squad previews for the men's tournament. That is the 100 in 2022. If you're new here, welcome. Love having you here. Hit the subscribe button if you want some more of these squad previews and updates, and hit the like button if you like what we do. That's much appreciated. Rich, how you doing?
I'm very well, Tom. It's only a few days till the start of the 100, so looking forward to the start of the tournament and actually seeing how some of these teams perform rather than just talking about them.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? And in fact, the team we're going to talk about today is a team I'm actually going to go and see live in person when they play the Manchester Originals in just a couple of weekends. So looking forward to it. Without further ado, let's get straight into this squad. Yeah. Trent Rockets, what do you think?
Well, they were one of the better teams in the competition last year. They fought their way all the way to the Eliminator, where they came across a in-form Southern Brave who, frankly, sort of were miles better than them on the night. I think, rolled them out for 90 odd and got it very easily. So it's a bit of a disappointing end. And I remember sort of seeing the Rockets players as they trudged off that evening, thinking that they hadn't really done themselves justice in that match. So I think they'll be pretty keen to put that right. And I think the other interesting thing about the Rockets, when you look at the roster, is that whereas other teams have really chopped and changed in the offseason, there's a lot of continuity. The Rocket side that I think will play the bulk of the tournament, it's more or less 8 or 9 of the players that made up the team last year. So I think that continuity will serve them well.
You're right. The pain of last year's exit probably still ringing in their ears. We were there, weren't we, Rich? Watching them, as you say, come off the pitch. And they were genuinely pretty devastated. I think they felt that they had left something out there, as they say in the sporting fraternity. And they've also returned with their coach, Andy Flower, who, gets franchise cricket, gets the short format game. So he's got a squad that I think is looking pretty well balanced. And up top, you have some reliable short format batters in Damon Milan and Alex Hales, who can really put on a big opening partnership if they get going, right?
It can. I mean, Damon Milan, through no fault of his own, seems to get a lot of stick when it comes to short format cricket. I know it was a bit of a statistical quirk that he ended up getting to world #1. But statistical quirks aside, you have to be doing something right to rise that high up in the ICC rankings. And I think he is a good player, especially if he gets a chance in the power play. I think maybe he struggles a little bit more when it comes to beating the field. But I think when the field is set back, but I think in the power play he's very effective. And Alex Hales, obviously we know he has had his travails in the past, and he's not getting near the international team anymore. But he remains, one of the best in the world for me. And I think if it hadn't been for off-field incidents, he would be going to the World Cup at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. On his day, he's got the power, and Damon Milan has the finesse, fire and ice, you could call him in my terms. But there is a possible argument, I suppose, that Damon Milan could come in at 3. It's where he's batting for England at the moment. But I don't see a more natural opener there. Do you?
No, I think the Milan Hales opening partnership makes sense. One thing to say when we talk through the starting 11 is that England players involved in the test side will only be involved in a minor part of the competition, because I think the first test starts on, was it the 13th of August, more or less? So
I want to say 17th, but they could be called across by the 13th.
Yeah, they have to report a bit earlier. So we already know that Captain Ben Stokes is not playing at all in the 100. He's taking a break. I think some of the other players...
Who could this possibly affect in the Trent Rockets lineup, though, Rich?
Well, Joe Root listed there on the subs bench. Of course, if Joe Root is available, he will be in the team and he will bat 3, I think, for the Trent Rockets, and probably do a bit of bowling as well. But at the moment, we're going to make the assumption that he's available for a limited number of games, so therefore he's not featuring in our starting 11 before you howl in indignation about how we could leave Joe Root out of the team.
Joe Root does what Joe Root likes, I think it's fair to say. Middle order, it looks quite interesting as well, though, even without Joe Root. Colin Monroe, I think, is again a deeply underrated player. He gets a lot of contracts around the world because he's reliable and he knows how to bat in this format and often produces. And alongside him, another young English talent who went in the top price bracket, I think, at the 125k range in Kohler-Cadmore, who's had, and probably a decent season? Is he just going to justify that price tag?
It'll be a challenge for him. I think a few eyebrows were raised. When it came to the draft, there was a lot of uncertainty over which overseas stars would be available due to other franchise leagues or international commitments. So quite a few sort of highly rated English domestic players went in that top round. So the likes of Liam Dawson at the Spirit, Joe Clark going to the Fire, and Tom Kohler-Cadmore to the Rockets. So it's a high price tag. He will have to justify it. I think they will have to play him and bat him high up in order to justify it as well. Whether he goes 3 and Monroe goes 4, I'm not sure. But I think the pressure will be on young TKC this summer.
My eyes on him because, of course, he's going to be moving from Yorkshire to Somerset in the county game as well at the end of the season. So, I want to have a good look at him. After that, then you've got some seasoned vets, though, that can really, provide wily skills, should we say, should the game need closing out. That's Stephen Mullaney, obviously the captain at Notts.
Friend of the pod. Friend of the pod, Stephen Mullaney.
And a really charming guy with it. And Lewis Gregory, who's done great things in the Blast and across the years. And Tom Moores, who was the keeper batter, who did really well last year.
Did well last year. Has had a good Blast as well. 260 runs, strike rate 144. So you'll take that coming in at 7, and a very good keeper as well, which is a often overlooked important facet of T20 cricket. You need a good gloveman.
And of course they do have the other experienced Notts hand on the bench there, which could easily see come in Samit Patel, right?
They could indeed. I mean, contrast that. I mean, Samit Patel didn't have a particularly good Blast this year. I think he was only striking about 112, which is poor by his standards. So I think in our sort of strongest 11, we didn't see a space for him there. I mean, there's a few all-rounders on the bench who are going to put pressure on that. So you've got the domestics in sort of likes of Luke Fletcher and Ben Mike, who came in the wildcard round, but then also sort of Danny Sams, the Australian all-rounder, could be another option.
Before you go on, Rich, I mean, this is your lineup on the screen. Yes. And in your initial version that you sent me, you had 13 players playing. So before you throw too much accusation here.
I thought it looked a well-balanced, strong side when I had 13 players involved.
Patched all the gaps up. But the one player you didn't include that I thought might have been in for looking was Ian Cobain, who has good form, is on a 75k price bracket. You don't rate him?
I do. Who are you going to put him in for then, Tom?
Well, I wonder whether he might get game time for someone like Lewis Gregory, perhaps.
Instead of the captain. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, if the form's not there, if they won't go for form, who knows?
Might not be.
I love Lewis Gregory, don't get me wrong.
Well, Lewis Gregory has had injury issues in the past and has had time off the field, so it's useful that they've got backup for him. I'm not sure they're necessarily going to drop the captain. I think it's probably more likely that Stephen Mullaney will face pressure for that position. If he gets a chance and doesn't deliver, then maybe they bring in Ian Cobain instead. But I think that's more likely, perhaps.
Okay, one player who isn't getting dropped if he's around is the international superstar that is Rashid Khan. We know. Go on.
I'd assume it's in his contract, but it can't be dropped.
Well, quite. But we do know he's going to miss some games, though, because the Afghan team are going to be touring Ireland, I think, around the same sort of time. So he's going to miss a few games. And the announcement's come out that for those games, there is going to be a ready-made replacement, though, in Tabraiz Shamsi. Not bad, eh?
Yeah, very good spinner. Very experienced, playing the competition last year for the Oval. So we'll know his way around it.
Yeah, and let's not gloss over Rashid Khan, of course. Another fabulous IPL behind him this year, 19 wickets. Continues to baffle batsmen the world over, and a fabulous economy rate. And ultimately, just an all-round cricket badger. Hits runs, gets about the field, all of it.
Yeah, and getting better and better with the bat as well. And I wonder sort of if he might creep up a bit higher up the order than 8. I mean, we've said before, he does fancy himself as an all-rounder. Yeah. And at some point, a franchise is going to have to acquiesce and give him a bit more time at the crease.
That's what he wants to put in his contract. He might have to get his biro out on this occasion, though, and just doctor the team sheet. Behind him, then, in the bowling lineup, we saw a fair bit of Matt Carter last year. What did you make of him?
He was a bit of a surprise, wasn't he, last year? We didn't necessarily expect him to be a big part of the side, but he was a very effective campaigner, and I think he retains his spot in the side. I think Andy Flower will be quite loyal to the players who got him within touching distance of the final last year.
Yeah, and another player who did reasonably well last year with wheels behind him, Marchand de Lange, bowling absolute rockets appropriately for the Trent Rockets. Good pace, and Luke Wood, again, a very experienced campaigner. You happy with that bowling lineup?
Yeah, it does look strong, doesn't it? And you've got the good combination there. Luke Wood, left arm, Marchand de Lange, right arm, very, very fast. And then the good spin options with Rashid Khan, Matt Carter. You think about the fifth bowling option there. I mean, Mullaney bowls a little bit. Lewis Gregory.
I like Gregory.
You like Gregory as a fifth bowler? Yeah.
I do, yeah. Despite my aspersions earlier, about his batting option. Mullaney's in there.
Yeah.
And Gregory. That's the one I was talking about that time. Close enough, Rich. We're getting tired. We've done 8 of these now. Give me a break. Okay, Rich. The big question, though. Are the Trent Rockets going to go any further in the competition than they did last year?
Well, I think if you look back over the last 7 videos, I think I've predicted everybody to make it to the Eliminator. So,
in fairness, you said anyone could.
Anyone could.
Yeah.
I'll have to say, for the Rockets, I would essentially say it is more or less the same team, minus Darcy Short, I think, played for them last year and is involved with
Riaz. Yeah.
And Riaz. It's more or less the same side, isn't it? So it's a question, and they'll be well coached by Andy Flower, so I think they'll be consistent. It's a question about how much the field has improved. I think if they are as good as they are last year and if kick on a little bit, then that continuity will help them, and they should be competitive again and should be challenging for that top 3 spot.
Well, I think you've made the point that I would have said. I think the field has caught up to the Trent Rockets a bit, and they could be in a bit more of a fight. So we'll see. But I don't think it's as clear-cut, the quality above that they might have been said to be last year. So we'll see. What do you think at home? Please do let us know. Put your comments down below. And as I say, if you enjoy our stuff, then hit the subscribe, hit the like. That's all great. Rich, thanks for joining us. What are we gonna do next?
We are going to talk about the women's competition, which starts after the Commonwealth Games.
It does. I'm going to watch a lot of those Commonwealth Games cricket matches. They're going to be very, very interesting and a good form guide, I think, to help us out. But those previews will be coming. So thanks for joining us this time. We'll catch you again soon.
Cheers.